I'm thinking for like 100 years time.
Sure.
You know, when people look into history and they go, oh, what actually happened? Because the people that sort of were attending and running the things and created it would have been working in factories. I applied for the First Cut New Directors project. I was 18 years old. I actually won that. I was the youngest person to get it at the time, and the film that I applied with was called A Piece of the Action, and it really documented how Coventry, after two-tone and the closing of the manufacturing industries throughout the city, had a new revolution music scene, and that was house, acid house, and at the time it was illegal. These events took part throughout the city, and well, it changed history for everybody.
Another move on the light tonight, I want to see you jump with the shakes of rhythm posse. That's what you like to do, the bands are down. When I say that, 1, 2, 3, jump, everybody
Mr. Bates, who's actually passed away now, and he, for some strange reason, he'd represented some of these young men in court for violence, for football violence, and they went to him and said, look, we're doing these raves in warehouses and, well, barns and flats in the Hillfields area of Coventry, and the police are raiding them and stopping them. Is there any way we could be doing this legally? And he looked into it, being like quite a clever person, and found that there were ways that this could be done legitimately, and sort of used the law to make what they were doing not illegal, and that changed history. And these 3 young men from the Wood End area of Coventry, without a GCSE or any qualifications between them, held the first legal event at Coventry Connection, which was in June of 1990. I believe that the original, they did the one at Canal Road, then they were doing them at a pub in the city centre called the Tally Ho, and then from there they started doing them in like across the road, a place called Reflections, and this was like on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, 200, 300 people. Then they sort of got a bit cocky and started doing them in like old barns. These lads, they've called themselves Amnesia House, and they've done 2 at this barn, and then they're contacted by a bloke called Stuart Reed, who later went on to open the ECLIPSE nightclub, and he's got them a mansion out in Fenny Drayton. Now this is on private land, and that was in the summer of 1989. Again, they're still only having local DJs like Dobbo and Man Paris, but this is sort of where they first made a connection with the police. The police have tried to stop it because it's on private land. They're not doing anything against the law other than a gathering of people dancing. And this was the sort of the first, sort of the foundation of them learning about how this was going to be done legally. So after this event, they did another one in Alderman's Green, which is by Wood End, which is sort of an area where they all grew up. But on this occasion, they had gone to Manchester to the Hacienda Club and had asked DJ Sasha, who's now sort of world famous, to perform, and they brought him to that area and put this event on in a warehouse, and I believe that was quite a big event. And people from Birmingham, Manchester, London, Leicester then started coming to Coventry to dance with people from Coventry that before that had been their enemies. And this sort of happened because of the use of music, but also the drug called ecstasy, which sort of made these young men drop all their inhibitions and find a new way of releasing this negative energy by dancing. After the first events that were held at the Coventry Connection by Amnesia House, they were the first legal all-night dance events in the UK. A few months later, two characters from Coventry, using the same solicitor, Bait and Snipe and Edmonds, gained the first 24-hour licence for a nightclub. That nightclub opened in October 1990 and it was called the ECLIPSE. It's situated on Lower Ford Street of Coventry and was based in an old Granada bingo hall. It had 4 floors and a capacity of 1,700 people. And to some, well, especially DJs and dance music enthusiasts, it is the mecca for dance music. And you name it, the artist, they perform there. Prodigy performed their first ever paid gig there for £60. Moby performed there in 1991. Carl Cox was there Fridays, Saturdays. Sasha, Kevin Saunderson was flown over from Detroit. The list is endless really, but the important thing that really needs to be documented is this was the first all-night place that you could go and dance legally, but it had it had lots of different promoters from around the UK brought their sound and their production and the way they did things to Coventry, and people from all over the country and throughout Europe would travel to the city to experience a night at the ECLIPSE. But it was a short-lived thing. The club was only open till the summer of 1992, and then after that it reopened as a place called The Edge, and that in some people's minds was the birth of drum and bass music as well. Well, here we are, Lower Ford Street. This is where the ECLIPSE was. Like I said, it opened October 1990. The doors would open in the evening around 9 PM and the nightclub would run till 8 AM in the morning. This was groundbreaking at the time. Now, when people entered the club, they would be searched for drugs. The club didn't serve alcohol, just soft drinks. Now the facts are people were taking substances, and the way people moved to the music would have been quite a strange thing to take in really if you didn't understand the scene at the time. Some people would take their tops off. There would be sort of like a euphoria. The walls would be running with sweat, and a lot of people were high as a kite really. And on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning when the people would be leaving the venue at 8 AM, they would then be dancing in the car park across the road, listening to music in their cars. And you would also have like groups of organisations from all over the country which would be there to hand out their flyers, which was like a leaflet, like a information about other events that were going on all over the country, because Coventry was where it was at. Like I said before, the Mecca. So It happened in Coventry first, and other organisations, young men, young women would come to Coventry, look at how it was being done, lasers, lighting, sound systems, and then go further afield. Birmingham followed after Coventry, as did a lot of other places around the country. It was something that, unless you were here, it's not really ever going to be recreated. For the Reflection House is a Feeling exhibition, which is part 2 of the series. We've made 4 films. The first one is called Illegal, Fight for the Right to Dance, which is about how illegal events in the city took place and just a documentation of what occurred. The second is called Amnesia House at the Coventry Connection, which is the first legal UK warehouse party. And the third film is called The Eclipse. I go out on Friday nights, come back on Saturday mornings, and that is about the building that used to stand here, the ECLIPSE nightclub. And the fourth film is the follow-up to Parks and Wilson A Hard Day's Night, which follows on from where Parks and Wilson are in their careers at present. And we've also made 8 radio documentaries which sort of document all of those subjects plus a little bit more. And that's sort of really what I've been working on. The exhibition is taking place on the 21st, 22nd of June in Coventry City Centre.